Gentleman's time has expired. I now recognize Mr. Swalwell, the gentleman from California and the ranking member on the Subcommittee of Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security.
Mr. Secretary, welcome back, and thank you and the men and women at your department for what they're doing during this especially vulnerable time for the homeland. I know it's probably not comfortable for you, to have any of us reference the impeachment that Speaker Johnson brought to the floor, but I just want to get some dates right. Was it February 13 when Speaker Johnson was finally able to get the votes to impeach you? Was that the date?
I don't recall it.
I think it was February 13. And by the way, it was kind of a second serve impeachment, if we're using like a tennis analogy. The first one was a fault. They couldn't get the votes. In pickleball, you would have only gotten one serve, and that would have been it. But if it was tennis, they got a second serve and barely were able to do it. Today, it's April 16, so I'm not great at math, but I think that's 2 months. Have the impeachment articles, as we sit here today, been sent over to the Senate for a trial? Are you aware?
I don't know whether something has occurred while I have been testifying before this committee, Congressman.
I only bring that up because, again, like we were told, there's this urgency, there's this crisis at the border. We got to do this now. We got to, bring one of our, colleagues who's suffering and going through cancer treatments that we're all rooting for. We got to bring him out of those treatments so he can come and be the pivotal vote so that we can get you impeached and sent over to the Senate. It's been 2 months, and it's still not over at the Senate. So I don't think it's the urgency that we were told. It seems like it was more the former president wanted us to do this, and so Speaker Johnson did it, and we seem to go wherever the former president wants us to go, if that's on border policy, if that's on funding Ukraine. It's not really an America first agenda. It's me first when it comes to the former president, and then these guys get kind of dragged along, and that's why the articles, as we sit here today, have still not been sent over. But I want to talk a little bit about disinformation. Does Russia or China or Iran or Venezuela have a right to free speech in our elections, as you see it?
I'm not sure I understand your question, but...
Well, Americans have a right on social media platforms to speak freely about our elections, but do you see our adversaries as having a right to pollute our public forum when it comes to speech?
Congressman, one of the threat streams attacking the integrity of our elections is disinformation from adverse nation states. That includes the People's Republic of China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea.
And I also find it interesting, my colleagues, some of them don't like that you're going after disinformation, but one of our very able staffers just provided me with a July 11, 2018 transcript in this room when the former president, Donald Trump, was president, and you have a number of Republican members who are arguing that it's actually disinformation that's the problem. You have multiple Republican members saying that disinformation is our foreign adversary's tool of choice, as Mr. Rogers on this committee at the time said. Mr. Perry, we know Mr. Perry from January 6th, he also goes into identifying foreign disinformation as being the problem. So again, what we want the department to do is not to choose sides politically, because we know that our adversaries, first and foremost, they just want chaos so that they can go to their authoritarian states and say, this is why democracy doesn't work, look what's going on in America, and they're undermining it. But would you say that when you look at disinformation and when you see disinformation, that it doesn't have a straight line as far as benefiting one party or the other, that our adversaries really, more than anything, just want chaos in America?
Adverse nation states seek to attack our nation, our democracy, this country, and we battle their efforts every single day.
Yeah. Well, again, Mr. Secretary, thank you for what you do. We're we're grateful that you're in the chair that you're in. It's not an easy place to sit, and I'm confident that there will be a swift acquittal if it ever gets sent over to the Senate, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields.